The TEFL Commute, Season 10, Episode 6, Just Desserts, in which the whole crew of the TEFL Commute are dropped onto an island and forced to teach. Let's see what happens.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hey, Shaun. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Well, I'm going to welcome everybody to the TEFL Commute. This is a podcast for language teachers that's not about language teaching, is it, Shaun?
Well, no, but I think all of this season it has come up.
I know, but our tagline is it's not about language teaching, but the topic always seems to come up. It is a podcast for language teachers. I'm your host, Lindsay Clantfield.
And I'm the other host, Shaun Wilden.
And we're at the
end of another season.
End of another season. And usually at the end of a season, we try to do something kind of sort of different and special and bring in other people on the team, on the TEFL Commute family. Shaun, we're going back in time to do something that we forced other people to do, but we haven't done yet ourselves.
That's right. Yeah, as you said, the episode is called Just Desserts. And for a number of our seasons, we used to do a feature called Dessert Island, and we did Dessert Island so we didn't get sued. And it was one of those things that we did and we've forgotten to do. And then we thought we should do a roundtable episode this time. So we're going to send everybody that's been with us before to a desert island, a dessert island. But we should actually remember to bring it back properly in a future season, don't you think?
I agree. But meanwhile, shall we cue the music and whisk off to meet our other contestants?
Welcome to the Dessert Island. Yes, you heard that right. Dessert Island. A section lovingly named after all the students who've had trouble sorting out their puddings from their sand. Loosely based on an idea that the BBC had some years ago, we interview a person in ELT about things they would take with them if they suddenly had to go and teach on a remote island. And of course, we also find out what dessert they take with them to eat.
Hey, so now we should have our other people here. James, are you there? Hi, James.
Hello, lovely to be back, allowed back here, even if I am being deserted.
Allowed back. Now, that's an interesting phrase, isn't it, Lindsay, given how much we tried to get him to speak in this season.
Yes, indeed it is. I'll leave it there.
Yes, so we'll revisit that one, maybe in an outtake. And someone who made an appearance in a different role, in a guest hat in the first episode of this season, but is a regular contributor throughout the whole, or has been, a regular contributor for the whole of the 10 seasons. Ceri, are you there?
I am indeed. Hello. Very nice to be here. I'm not going to make a horrible pun with dessert.
Not yet.
The episode is young. Okay, so for those of you who are joining in season 10 and don't know what the Dessert Island is, we basically whisk our teacher away to this premise that they're on an island and for some reason it's deserted, but there's a class there, so they have to teach. And we allow them to take a teaching book, a teaching aid, and of course the most important thing, a dessert. So we're going to run through that together. But what I thought would be interesting first, if it is actually we're sending you to a deserted island, then obviously we're not all together. So let's find out where you are. So what kind of island are you on? James, would you like to tell the audience what kind of desert island we've thrown you on?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's going to have to be a tropical island. I want a sandy beach. I want palm trees. I want parrots. And I want big fronds that I can use to keep myself out of the sun. So but not too hot, about 27, 28 degrees. That's where you'll find me.
So basically you're staying at home then, given you live in Brazil.
Well, true, but I am about probably about 1,000 kilometers from the sea. So not exactly.
It's all right, fair enough. Okay, Ceri, what kind of island are you getting abandoned to?
Okay, so I think maybe my first choice would have been tropical, but I'm going to leave that one to James. Mine's a little bit more kind of rugged, red cliffs, maybe caves in the cliffs, bit windswept, but shrubs and some shelter. It's not completely desolate. And fresh water, plenty of fresh water.
Oh, you've gone for the resources. Nice one. Lindsay, are you with shrubs or with palm trees?
Okay, so you know the end of the film, The Last Jedi, where Luke Skywalker, they find him on this island, like that has a single peak, like it's a bit like Carrie's Island.
Spoiler alert.
What's on that one, given the new film's coming out in a couple of weeks?
So I'm on an island like that. It's quite green, so maybe it's like an Irish kind of island, I suppose, an island something like that, but with like a weird rock outcropping that kind of like, you know, you have to climb up. I can send the students up to the top or down, and there are shrubs as well.
Are shrubs a Spanish thing?
I don't know. Maybe Ceri and I both live in Spain. Maybe we're missing shrubbery. And also mine is quite it's lots of hard edges, and you can't envisage swimming. It's a place where serious learning has to take place.
Seriously, I'm just
this is not the National Geographic.
Yeah, I just realised with Lindsay there. I just realised what we should have done is say to the audience, "Okay, pick up a pen and a piece of paper. We're going to dictate to you an island, draw it as they do it, or of course in Lindsay style, close your eyes and visualise." So mine would be, actually thinking of drawing, I think mine would be that kind of almost stereotypical kids drawing island. So if you ask a kid to draw an island, they draw the island and draw the blue crane around for the sea. And on one side, I'd have a volcano, and then on the other, I'd have a beach, and in the middle, there'd be some pirate treasure and a big X somewhere. So that's the kind of island I think I'd like to be on.
Fair enough. Can I just say, I'm amazed that Lindsay didn't use this as an opportunity to shoehorn in his lesson, the island.
That island is
which he made. Amazing. I'm surprised he didn't say, "I would like to live on the island that I created, currently available on my website."
We can leave that out, everybody. All right, continue.
so now everybody's Googling where that is. Okay, so right, you are duly deserted onto your island of choice, and as you get your bearings and begin to understand where you are and wonder why there's a class of people waiting for you since you've just woken up on a deserted island, you look around and you obviously look in your backpack where you have brought some resources with you. So basically your favorite resource is essentially what we're asking for, the resource you would go to. So let's begin then with a teaching book of some kind. So, a methodology book, a recipe book, those kind of things. Let's start with Lindsay. What's the one teaching book you can take with you?
I'm going to assume, because we talked about this before, that the students who have magically appeared on the island, I suppose we don't get off the island until they all speak English, right?
Well, until, I think, going back to your island, until they could send a message, isn't it?
Yes, that's true. A B2 level message.
Yes.
Okay. Then, my teaching resource book that I would have, assuming that they have paper and pens and I have some kind of board to write on, would be 5-minute activities. This is a resource book, a classic in my mind, absolute classic, by Penny and Andrew Wright. I have the original version, which is the green and blue version. Cover. I think it's been reissued recently. Cambridge University Press. This is a book that I used to call 5-minute activities that aren't really 5 minutes, but they're great anyway, because many of my favorite activities here, and it is literally a list, like a whole bunch of kind of classic activities, everything from comparing things, changing sentences, so sort of classics, and then sort of twists on things, organized alphabetically, which is curious. But they have a kind of good index and stuff. And even just like when you go back to this book, there's so many things that are well known and loved, but also so many interesting ones that, like, every time I go back, I always discover something new that I think, oh, maybe I would try that. So that one would be my my one book. It was one of the first books that I ever taught with. It's always seen me write, and I haven't used it for a long time, so I think I could use this to draw as a wealth for inspiration.
You just pick it up on there. You said it's curious. It's listed alphabetically. Things are listed alphabetically. Never thought of that before, but it is, because it's just the title of an activity. So
Yes,
it doesn't
that's right.
really help.
Yeah, so it's even more random because it's whatever title they gave them. Anyway, but yeah, great stuff.
Okay, thank you very much. So that would, I guess, lots of 5-minute activities are probably what's needed with a lot of students in shock. Why the hell am I on this island?
Here, put this Post-it on your head.
Yes, comparison. This grain of sand is bigger than this grain of sand.
Yeah.
Ceri, are you a 5-minute activity person, or have you got a different type of book?
Okay, so how could I not be a 5-minute activity person? But mine is a very different kind of book. I'm going with Natural Grammar by Scott Thornbury.
Ooh.
That's a little bit of it.
It's a deep cut.
Yeah, kind of like, yes, none of this playing activities and games. Right, let's get the grammar out.
Okay,
it's the
but
grammar
I can see why. I can see
your help with. No, it's like you pick a word, and I love one-word lessons. So we just kind of go with whatever, like there's a whole unit on up. I think that's just great. I think it would be such a great opportunity to experiment with going with one word at a time and then seeing where it takes us. Really, it could be like out there on our rugged island.
For our listeners, Ceri, can you just briefly explain what natural grammar is a little bit more, just like what the organizing purpose behind it is?
Okay, so. The tagline on the title is the keywords of English and how they work. And basically each unit looks at the grammar surrounding a word, which is very clever. So for example, you might have the verb can, and you look at all of the different meanings and uses for can at various different levels. And so you can have, here I'm looking at the can page, can plus infinitive, can't plus have and past participle, set phrases, and then there are exercises, and the exercises are superb. I mean, they're just like, it's a total training book as well for writing grammar exercises. And I think maybe Scott Thornbury himself once said that he thinks that this book is mainly on the bookshelves of materials writers, because
I would agree indeed.
So I wouldn't have to worry about that side of the teaching at all, because it would be covered in the book. And I really like this idea that you look in detail around how one particular word works within patterns and collocations and set phrases. And is that enough?
No, it sounds
good
great.
to me.
Just a bit serious, but yeah, it's
perfectly
fine. But
among the shrubs.
It's just like Ceri's going to teach in the morning, then write materials in the afternoon.
Grammar
Once a materials writer, always a materials writer.
I don't know how many publishers there are going to be on this island, but
put it in a bottle.
Edition of one copy.
Desert Island Publishing. There you go. James, since you're back there, are you going for the natural grammar line, the 5-minute activity line? Where's your book? What is it?
No, although I was also very tempted by a Penny Earl book as well, which was not 5-minute activities, but grammar practice activities, which is absolutely.
Actually, that's a lovely.
Yeah, it was like that was a nice kind of mixture between Ceri. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm not going for that. And then the other thing I thought of was thinking also of Scott Thornbury, because I was thinking if ever there was a place to teach unplugged, then surely it would be on a desert island. So perhaps teaching unplugged by Scott Thornbury and Luke Reddings. However, I have decided to go for a different kind of book, which is The English Verb by Michael Lewis.
Ooh, another grammar geek. And by the way, has anyone noticed he's kind of managed to talk about 3 books so far?
I was about to interject and say, James, we asked you what book you are going to bring, not what you're not going to bring.
Go on, James. What's The English Verb? Tell our listeners and why.
So this was published in 1989, and in it, basically, Michael Lewis, who many people will know as the creator of the lexical approach, basically breaks down the kind of grammar rules that we teach our students, and sort of says, basically, okay, that most of those things aren't really true, and this is what is actually going on. And It's such an interesting book. I know quite a few people who sort of read it and had their minds blown by it because they're just saying, "Oh, everything I thought was real is not real." And the reason I want to take it with me,
it is the red pill or blue pill book, isn't it? It's sort of
it's
often given to diploma or Delta trainees, sort of like, once you read this,
but it's kind of, but that's what it was. It's one of those. But I remember coming across it on my TEFL, Delta as it is now, and just going, "Oh my gosh, why have I never done this before?"
Yeah, but what I find really fascinating about it is the fact that, I mean, he's right, and it was published, 30 years ago, and we're still doing the same thing as we were then. So, I mean, you could argue that it hasn't had the influence that maybe it could have. But what I found was, I just found that I've read it once, and then I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to read this again at least once.
Yeah.
At least one more time. So that's the reason I want to take it to the Desert Island, because it will give me a chance to kind of actually sort of read it.
And it might give a chance for actually to take hold with the students, because if they don't have any other contradictory stuff to it, you might actually finally get them to kind of internalize English that way, and grammar anyway.
But it's interesting something that's not taking hold. I think it has, in a way. It's like, I mean, it's the way the work of that's been championed, I guess, by many people.
Sort of the naming, the nomenclature of the verbs, and he wanted to rename.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
And whether things are tenses or not. Anyway, we're getting too deep into it, but
it is a podcast about English teaching.
Shaun, what's your book?
Well, as you know, James and Lindsay in particular, I'm not one to not labour a joke or a point.
Oh
God.
Okay. Jamie Oliver's desserts or something like that.
No. Those are people that are obviously listen to this podcast in order will know that in episode 5, I kicked your butt.
Oh God.
So obviously being on a desert island where you're obviously going to have this context of teaching, which is difficult, it would seem that the best book to take would be a book called Dealing with Difficulties. So my choice of book is Dealing with Difficulties by Lindsay Canfield and Luke.
Do you know? I think the writer of that is really, really interesting. What's his name? Luke. He's a really excellent writer.
The backhanded compliments. Thank you anyway, guys.
Sorry, Lindsay. I was actually going to choose something else. I'm not going to do a James, but then I realised the book was still out from the last podcast, and I thought, perfect, difficult situation. And genuinely, and I did say this in episode 5, I generally do love the book, and I think it gave me so many ideas for dealing with difficult students. There's difficult context where students are not going to be concentrating all the time, and I think I think a reward chart has a perfect place on a desert island. So I'm going to.
Incidentally, there aren't. If anybody's thinking about this book dealing with difficulties, there is not a chapter on dealing with sharks or with other
or Shaun's.
It is, and just to contextualize it for people that don't know, it is on the more of the recipe book side, but it's one of those books that has a bit of recipe and methodology, hence the reward chart from last time. Lovely, loads of activities that would help any teacher dealing with difficult classes. So, joking aside, the book does have my respect.
Aww.
So moving on, there was our books, quite a collective mix. Yeah.
Shall we take a quick break before going to the next part?
All right. So there's a way saying just for the break, eclectic mix of books. I wonder if our teaching items will be very similar. I'll get the ball rolling with the teaching items, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'm going to take something which I kind of relatively new to as a teaching item, but I love. I'm going to take a box of Lego.
Ooh,
nice. Okay.
I see some Cuisinart rods.
This is a twist on the Cuisinart rods. Yes,
well, exactly. So, until maybe 2 years ago, if I'd been asked this question, I would always take Cuisinart rods, and I have a set of Cuisinart rods sat beside me. Now, many people know that I'm a techie teacher, so I use mobiles and iPads and stuff like that. But I love my Cuisinart rods. But I've kind of moved it. I guess it's as my son has developed a Lego collection. I've moved it to Lego because it's actually more you can do with it. And obviously
Lego's like Cuisinart Cuisinart rods on steroids.
Yeah, pretty much, because you can build. I mean, obviously, Cuisinart rods you can build with, but they've got a tendency to fall down. But Lego sticks together, so you can still do like prawn exercises, but you can do buildings and do task-based stuff.
So would you just have the generic Lego, or would you have like the ginormous Millennium Falcon Lego set?
No, my goal, if the podcast ever makes money, I'm buying the Millennium Falcon. It's only £650.
But you would have the generic.
No, just a generic set of blocks. Yeah, just what they call the creative blocks. Just a box of that we could use for it. I mean, I really. Aside from a desert island, I've really got into it, not just with, and obviously I can't do this bit on the desert island, but it's great for making projects and stop-go animation films and all this kind of stuff, but we won't have phones to be able to make that. But on the other side, it just can be simply Cuisinart rod material. So I think it's got a lot of uses that it could be put to. So I'd go for Lego.
And in your free time, you could sit there and build a little car.
Yep, absolutely. Or a boat, maybe, to get off the island.
That might be more useful.
Kerry, what would you take? What would be your teaching item?
Okay, would I be allowed to take a toolkit? As in, your kind of household toolkit, which has got a hammer and nails and a saw and a drill and stuff like that?
Planning on building a classroom?
I think that's okay, because they do sell them as it's like a thing, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to me as like a teaching aid, but you can explain
this is what I want.
Where this is going. Yeah.
I just have an image of Kerry laying these out one at a time on the shrubs, and the students were thinking, "What is going to happen?"
Oh, I know. You're going to make a makerspace.
Well, I was thinking we could go for problem-based learning.
Okay.
And then they've got, the problem is that we need to make something or other. And there's the tools, and then they've got the raw materials around them, and then we'll discuss which is the best way, who has the best solution for the problem. We'll dip into natural grammar every now and then when a word comes up that's interesting to look at. Wow, we're going to have a wild time.
Oh, it sounds very task-based. It's the ultimate task-based.
The task being teacher Kerry needs a new home, I think.
Yes.
Yes, and then a jetty for a little a pier for the
Lego
boat to dock.
That's going to come from Shaun's island.
Okay, so two of us have gone for items which can be used in task-based learning. Lindsay, what are you gonna?
Okay, I have one thing, my first thing, but I have a backup in case you don't accept it. So I don't know, because it is a book, but I consider it more a teaching aid than a book, and it's a dictionary, a learner's dictionary. Is that a book or is that a teaching aid?
I was wondering whether we'd have one of those anyway. Like on the Desert Island discs. What is it? The complete.
Oh yeah, you've got a book Bible and the complete works of Shakespeare.
Sean's in charge here, so.
Sean's
adjudicator.
I have a backup.
Is your second item better than a dictionary?
It's different. It's different.
Go for it. Just so we had three books.
The dictionary is there already. Okay, so that's fine. So the second thing, which is more teaching aid, and I used to always have one of these in my bag, is a deck of cards, because a deck of cards, aside from being something where you can play solitaire when you're waiting for the class to start, or you can get card games going and stuff like that, so versatile. Like I once had activities where I had conversation questions, one written for each card, so people would draw a card and there'd be a question for it. They're great for organizing students into pairs, groups of fours. All the aces sit over there, the kings over here, the twos over here, etc. You can regroup people afterwards. It's great for all of that kind of stuff. You could do storytelling with the cards. I can think off the top of my head at least like a 6 to a dozen activities that you could probably do with the cards, and it's great for whiling away the time when you're not teaching.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm quite liking our resources, actually, if I'm honest. James, are you going to add to this wonderful set?
Yeah, I think it's kind of obvious, but I think a big stack of Post-it notes would be very handy, don't you think?
Yes.
I think, if I remember rightly, Christine, I can't remember her name.
Christine Buffet.
Yeah, she wanted Post-it notes way back in season 2, I think it was.
Yeah. it's a good thing though to have. I hadn't remembered.
No, yeah,
that.
I'm not dissing it. I just remember it bizarrely as it came up then. Go on then, James. Post-it notes.
Yeah, I mean the flexibility, right? It's like the playing cards. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could turn them into a deck of playing cards, I suppose. But
That's true.
But you can just do so many different activities with them: games, writing activities, and just tons of stuff. So,
And they also
huge
serve
amount
as kindling for setting
of-
fires.
yes, different colours.
And also, I imagine people would know when they arrive in James's Island, because the whole thing would be covered with post-it notes with the name of everything written on it. Like palm, coconut, beetle.
We just have shrub.
Yes, poor students walking around with like hardly any clothes, but covered in paper, whatever. Elbow, the one who the body unit. Like
I just imagine like the almost naked people with stickers on the back. Again,
the stickers and all their bits.
What's my profession? I need 3 questions. Somebody tell me.
Yes,
right.
A Lord of the Flies situation happening on James's Island.
But let's face it, we've got Lego, we got tools, we got post-it notes, and we got a deck of cards. That's a pretty good set of resources. If you turned up in an actual language school, not on a deserted island, and they were your materials, you'd be happy. I think you wouldn't fart. Shall we take another break? Okay, the third and final part of this then is because we originally named the segment Dessert Island. The final question is the rather surreal
to avoid copyright infringement.
Yeah. So not what book would you take and what's your favorite track?
This has nothing to do.
What's your favorite dessert? And that's it. So what would you be on a desert island? What dessert would you like to be deserted with? Well, look at that.
Nice.
Get those all in. I can't remember who hasn't started. James, go on. Tell us what dessert you would take with you.
So this dessert doubles up, because the thing about it is, as you know, I'm on a tropical island, right? And the fruit I need for this dessert, you can't get on a tropical island. So I'll be able to get a bit of a taste of home. So I'm going to have a lifetime supply of my mum's summer fruit pudding.
Oh, nice. No. Is that like a fruit pudding? Is that like a trifle kind of thing?
So I'll explain. It's very simple to make, but when it's good, oh man. So you need a lot of red fruits, right? So whatever red fruits you like, blackberries, strawberries, whatever. And you line a bowl with white bread, remove the crusts. You fill the bowl with the red fruits. You put another layer of white bread on top, put the cling film on it or a plate underneath, turn it over and leave it in the fridge overnight. And then the next morning, the bread has soaked up all that juice. Oh, something else.
No sugar, no anything. It's all just natural. Just that then.
Just natural. It's as easy as that. Oh, it's just the best thing.
Well, a lot of sugar in it from the fruit, wouldn't they?
I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a glorious thing, and it would be very refreshing on a hot tropical island.
Fair enough. Would you still want it after a year's supply, though? I mean,
I'm going to assume that there's some kind of, like it's flown in and parachuted,
Yeah, they're not going to take you off the island, but they'll fly in your dessert. Fair enough.
or it'll spawn in a little chest that you have to go and open. Okay.
Gamers.
Ceri, what dessert would you like to have for the next year on your island?
Okay, it's not a million miles away from James's. I think it would be a crumble of some sort. And I think it would probably be apple. And there could be any fruit in there, really. But it's the kind of crumbly, biscuity top, which is really nice. And I'd like to make it with a bit of brown sugar and cinnamon or something like that. And who knows, if it's cold on my island, which I guess it is sometimes because it's windswept, then maybe a bit of custard on the side.
Oh, warm custard.
Warm custard, yeah. That is very British.
Not a custard
on your crumble.
Okay, summer fruits, and then crumble. And Lindsay, you're bringing.
Okay, so it was just the first thing that jumped into my head, and I thought, could I a year's supply or whatever supply until they get to B2? Would that be too much? But I thought. I thought this first, so I thought I'm going to go with it. And it would be stuff that I can't get on my rocky, craggy Northern island. It would be a banoffee pie. Now, a banoffee, I only learned this from being in England because I think it's a very English thing. And it's like banana, toffee, kind of.
Is it an English thing? I never realized
Well,
that.
actually, let me tell you.
I've never seen it.
I can tell you something about that. The banoffee pie was invented in Sussex in the 1970s, just like me.
just like James Banoffee.
There you go.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I make a good
but
one.
A banoffee pile. It is. So it's banana, toffee, and it's sort of like for those who don't know it. What is it? It's like in bars, isn't it? It's like a little kind of
No, it comes like
cereal bars.
No. It comes round like it looks like almost like a cheesecake or something. Like a big.
Okay. I've seen it in bars as well.
And you can have it with pastry, or you can have it with like a biscuit base. But the traditional way.
I like the biscuit base.
James is put himself down as the
I'm a bit of a banana. It's one of my specialities. It's very popular here.
Is it really? Yeah. Oh wow.
Okay. All right, well, delicious stuff. Anyway, so that would be my dessert that would come in every once in a while.
Fair enough. Which leaves me. So I'm going to go to a dessert which reminds me of my many years living in the Czech Republic. And in Czech, it would be medovnik, which is honey cake. And that's pretty much what the name gives it what it is. It's a cake which is basically lots of caramel, lots of butter, lots of honey, lots of sugar, and lots of walnuts on the top. And it's kind of it's just absolutely sweet and lovely. And it was always my treat after a day's teaching. So I would like to have one of those for a year, please.
Sounds good to me.
Good stuff.
So we are on windswept, shrub-covered, tropical, kid-drawn islands with a variety of activity books and some bloody cool teaching tools and some great desserts. Actually, it's not too bad. When you end up summarizing it, you think, could do with that.
Yeah, could do worse.
Could be worse. Yeah. Could be that. But on that note, I think we should bring season 10 to an end.
Indeed, we shall. Thank you, everybody, for coming again today. Good to see good to hear everyone again on the podcast.
Yeah, very good. Very nice. Always good to do the little round tables. I do look forward to those episodes. Thank you for joining us, James. Next, can you go back behind the mic? Kerry, we'll see you in season 11, I'm sure.
Oh, and before we go, Shaun, shall I tell our listeners where they can find us if they want to share their ideas of what they would bring to a desert island? We are at the TEFL Commute, which is teflcommute.com, our website, where you can find all our back episodes of 10 seasons, which is just over 3 years of episodes, along with show notes for each of the episodes. We are also in all the social media places, such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, we're on all the places where you get your podcasts. And if you are listening to this on someone else's podcast, you can find us on places like iTunes or Spotify is easy, and any other good podcasting app.
Well done.
Got it all there, Shaun?
You did. Well done. 10 down. See you for number 11, Lindsay.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
As your commute is coming to an end, here's an idea you can take into class. Why not use the Desert Island format with your students? In the episode, we asked for a book, a teaching resource, and a dessert, but you can adapt it for your students. Some things you could ask them to choose are a film, a song, a website or app, a game, a fruit, a useless object, or a person. Ask each student to choose their objects and then compare them with a partner or in a small group. Get feedback from the class and put all the items on the board. To find out what the class will take to the desert island, ask your students to vote on their favourite, but make sure they don't vote for their own. You've been listening to the TEFL Commute, an original podcast produced and presented by Lindsay Clanfield, Shaun Wilden and James Taylor. Don't miss out on any episodes by subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or your podcast player of choice, and by visiting us at teflcommute.com.